It's been a while since we've done a tour of the model railroad layout. My Polar Express layout is a winter scene, and it features 3 Polar Express trains, plus the Polar Express Trolley. So in this video, we're going to do a quick tour of the layout, get everybody caught up on what we have in place. Right now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button down below and click the bell also to be notified of new videos each time I release one. The number of watchers that I have is really quite large. However, the number of subscribers is still quite low. So if we could just get a few more of the watchers to subscribe, it would make a big difference for this channel. One of the other contributors to YouTube, video creators on YouTube, refers to Al Gore's rhythm. And he means the algorithm that YouTube uses to determine which videos to feature and which videos to promote. So I'd like you to please help fuel Al Gore's rhythm by subscribing. So do it right now before you forget. And also add a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this channel, what you'd like to see on the channel that you're not seeing at the present time, and any other suggestions that you have to make these videos better. So without any further ado, let's get started. We'll do a tour of the layout. Now, because I'm holding the camera instead of having it on a tripod, it'll be a little less steady than it otherwise would be. We're going to start out with the J. Frank IGA store in the downtown area of my layout. And then moving over, we have Sully's Tavern, and that looks like a bar you'd see in an old Midwestern town from years ago. Next to that, Harrison's Hardware, and then a little bit further down, the post office. And around the corner from the post office, we have the church. Now, it's hard to see when the lights are on, but those stained glass windows show up very nicely when the lights are out. Filling up the gas tanks underground at Ethel's gasoline fuel service, we have a Sinclair truck. And we have also in the parking lots around here a number of vehicles. We have 3 vehicles there, plus the Sunbeam bread truck unloading. And then beside Sully's Taverns, we've got 3 vehicles in the parking lot. And over there, you can see the barrel unloading ramp. We have another pickup truck. Over in this direction, behind the post office, between the tracks, we've got the elf warming shacks. And inside each of those is a colored light, a red light in the one, a green light in another, and a white light in the third. Over here, behind the church, we have the unloading platform. That works for both the hot chocolate cans coming from the operating hot chocolate car and for the operating presents car. So that unloads onto that platform. There's a special track section that you can see if we look real close here in front of the engine, and there are, instead of the usual 3 rails, there are 5 rails there. The other 2 rails carry the electrical supply for the pickups that operate those 2 special cars. Over here, we have the Polar Express boarding platform, and here I've built a bridge that connects the Polar Express station that provides a trolley stop with the depot on the other side. Then down below, we've got vehicles on the road that goes all the way around the layout. This bridge is from RailKing, and it has that really cool aviation light on the top. As we turn around behind us here, we have the gateman, conductor gateman structure. That's from Lionel, with a lit Christmas tree beside it. And we have more vehicles on the roadway. Now, these vehicles are from Woodland Scenics. They're part of the Just Plug system. The street lights that go all the way around and follow the roadway are from Lionel. On the far side, we're going to zoom in a little bit. We've got some billboards. Actually, we've got 3 billboards that are lit with gooseneck lamps from Woodland Scenics, part of the Just Plug system again. And we've got a couple of more vehicles with working headlights and tail lights. Farther over, we'll zoom in a little bit. That's the Polar Express passenger train sitting there waiting to get going. And behind that is a frozen waterfall. I have a light sequencing hub on that frozen waterfall that changes the colors, that goes through cycles through 4 different colored lights. And if we get a little bit further up here, you can see under the track the caribou herd from the Polar Express. And then back there is the North Pole. That Christmas tree does light up. I need to change the batteries before I can light it again. The tunnel goes right through there, and that's part of track number 1, the outer loop. Track number 2, where the passenger train is the inner loop. The farmstead, I have put icicles and snow on the roofs on the buildings in the farmstead. And I've also done the coaling tower and the pump house down there that pumps water up into the water tank for the steam engines. Behind the house, you can see a few cows in the pasture. Those are beef cattle. And over here, you can see some dairy cattle in the pasture. The vehicle in front of the hardware store is an REA express truck. That's something that no longer exists. The Railway Express Agency was, back in the days before there was UPS, before there was FedEx, a Railway Express Agency used to be the one that delivered parcels. All the vehicles here date from the early 50s, early to mid 50s at the latest. And there's another Railway Express Agency truck there. On the boarding platform, you can see the back of Santa and some of the other characters from the Polar Express movie. Plus, on this side, facing the camera, are Smokey and Steamer, the engineer and the brakeman, and the fireman, rather, from the Polar Express movie. The American flag that flies next to the boarding platform is lit by a floodlight that you can see down below it. And over here on the other side of the church is the skating pond, and the skaters have 2 street lights that light them up. And then in front of the post office, there's another elf, fire hydrant, a mailbox, and a bench for waiting. In front of the hardware store, there are various items that you would have normally seen out in front of a hardware store, including a lazy old dog laying in the sidewalk. And there's some Christmas decorations scattered around this little downtown area. Toy soldier there. There's Santa on his sleigh on that canopy. There's a snowman over here in front of the IGA store. And there's an old-fashioned telephone booth with a lady fishing in her purse for change. One of the things that I've added just recently is this man walking across the parking lot towards the vehicles. I'm going to kill the lights in here, and with the lights off, the lighting that's part of the layout is going to show up much brighter. Now, because I have to have my hands free to operate the camera, I'm only going to have one train running at this time. We'll have a full operating session a little bit later. This is the Elf work train you can see at the far end, working its way down, coming around. It's just coming past the crossover bridge switch right now. And we're going to go down and take a closer look at that frozen waterfall with the light sequencing hub, switching the colors of it. Goes through multiple colors and it cycles through them one after the other. You can see, if you look down at the layout, there's a lot of lights on here. My theory is the more lights the better. I've got lights on top of that pedestrian bridge. I've got lights under the pedestrian bridge. I've also got lights under the railroad bridges. Down here, you can see the stained glass windows in the church light up. And there's lights here for the skaters that illuminate the area that they're skating in. You can see the Ethel's gas and service station under the canopy lit up. The Hero Boys house is lit up. And the backs of these buildings in the downtown area are lit up quite nicely as well. I think those really, really look attractive. And the loading dock at the IGA station is also well illuminated. There's the conductor gateman accessory and the Christmas tree lit outside of that. As you look across the roadway, you can see multiple cars, headlights lit up. And if we continue on around, you'll be able to see from the other angle that the Polar Express boarding platform is nicely lit up as well. I've got lights also underneath the coaling tower and underneath the water tower to light those up. And that just adds interest to the layout. Any place you can put lights, you're better with them on than with them off. You can see that the crossing guards are down at the railroad crossing there. That's because the Polar Express freight train is parked underneath there. And it's across the crossing, so the crossing gates are down and the signal lights are flashing. One of the places I added a light was right here with the ELF tug of war accessory, and I put that light on that beam, and I just kind of made that up as I went along in order to illuminate that accessory. Over here on the sledding hill, likewise, the sledding hill is illuminated. There's a little different angle on the ELF tug of war. I think that's a very cool accessory. It's not a Polar Express accessory, but it goes very well with the Polar Express theme. If you look over here, I'll close in, as you can see I've got lights under that Polar Express bridge to illuminate the water beneath it. And if we go over here, on that bridge there, I've got a blue light under that to illuminate that. And if we go a little bit further over, we'll get a better angle on the North Pole scene. And we've got the characters from the North Pole scene lined up there and arranged, and that works out pretty well, I think. And this illuminates this wooded hillside, and in the wooded hillside you see the wolf pack. And if I had a light on that, that just makes that a whole lot more interesting and it shows up a whole lot better. We're moving the Polar Express freight train up to the upper level, and once we get up to the upper level, we're going to be reconnecting it with the second half of the freight train, which is already on the upper level, and we're going to go through some maneuvers to reverse its direction using the crossover bridge as a reversing loop. So let's get started. Looks like we're good so far. Not too much weight, and it's going over. We'll follow it around, and then we have to pause now to get the lift bridge back in place. This is a place where one of those $1,000 powered lift bridges, automatic lift bridges, would be really cool to have, but I kind of like my $22 lift bridge just as well.
The trolley is departing from the station. Please step away from the door.
Now I'm going to pause right there and see if I can get the rest of the train into position.
Wait for the door to allow other passengers to board.
I'm using the ELF work train engine as a switching engine, and we'll see if we can come back here and get it to automatically trip the switch as it comes backward and continues straight on. Yep, it tripped the switch, and we'll bring it back down. This is a little bit complicated because I have to maneuver the half of the freight train that I've got on the upper level with the ELF switch train pushing it out of the way, and then bring the Polar Express freight train into position and get it switched around the right direction so that I can connect up with the way I want to. I'm going to bring it to a stop before it gets all the way to the crossover bridge entrance. I really don't like to go too fast when doing this. That should be okay, but you know, better safe than sorry. Now, effectively, I have reverse direction, and I've got that Polar Express freight train all the way back across the crossover bridge. So now I need to get the ELF work train in the right place, which is on the crossover bridge, and that will be my next step. Now if I back the ELF work train up, I should be able to get onto the crossover bridge and park it there, out of the way. That little engine's got quite a bit of power. That's a heavy consist it was pushing with the freight train and pulling the ELF work train. There we go, onto the crossover bridge. Once I get all the way on there, I'm going to pause it and reset the switches. There, we should be good to go for now. Let's get the switches in the right position. I'm going to take a moment as it goes by and pause it and get a look at the coupling on the reindeer cattle car to make sure that that is open, so that when I make contact with the rest of the freight train, it'll couple properly. It is not open, so I'm going to pause it and do that. There. Now we're going to see if we can get those cars to couple. They should couple when they bump together. I pulled the rest of the freight train backward a little bit in order to get them approaching at a straight on. If you have them angled or on a curve, it's frequently not going to couple properly. Let's find out whether or not we're coupled. Yep, we are coupled. Now I'm going to have to back down the grade, which should go pretty smoothly once I get the lift bridge moved in position.
Trolley is departing from the station.
Now if I have all the switches set correctly, I should be descending the grade when I go backwards with the freight train.
Trolley is departing from the station. Please stay away from the door.
I'm going to pause it here for just a second. If you look, you can see one of the piggyback cars is not exactly in the right position. That looks better. Now let me take it the rest of the way down the grade and see if we can get back over onto track 1. I've got gravity pulling pretty hard on the freight train right now as it goes. You can see it through the cross members of the crossover bridge. It's going to come back down onto track number 2, and then it should switch over onto track number 1.
Trolley is departing from the station. Please stay away from the door.
Here it comes to the switches, and it's making the curve over onto track number 1. Good. Everything's going the way it's supposed to. One of the things that I found, I had an old Polar Express ready to run set that I went up and down the grade on a few times, and it really didn't handle going downhill very well. It would just speed up like crazy going downhill. All the switches should be back in their correct position. The only one that's still in a non-standard configuration is the one for the ELF work train to come off the crossover bridge. So I'm going to see if I can get that off, and then we'll go from there. Here we come. It's running just fine. Now once we go all the way around with that, it should automatically trip the switch to go the right way and it gets to the other end. The Polar Express freight train is moving on the lower level. You won't be able to see it for a while because it has to clear the overhead second level of track 3. Maybe make it out now. It's just heading into the tunnel. And we're going to watch and make sure that the switch on this end of the crossover bridge trips automatically when the ELF work train gets there. Should see that light change. There it goes, change to green, and the train is coming on through. So the upper level is clear, lower level is clear, and we've got trains running on the upper level and the lower level. I'm going to try and see if I can get the Polar Express passenger train running as well, and use my iPhone to connect that up. Well, the sounds that I just heard tells me that it's connected, so let's see if it is. We'll see if we can get her to come. There we go. Here comes the Polar Express passenger train on the lower level on track number 2. Trolley is shuttling back and forth doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, we've got all three moving trains in the picture. I'm going to zoom in and see if we can see the North Pole and watch as the Polar Express freight train goes into the tunnel. There you go, heading into the tunnel. Comes the passenger train going by the depot, the loading platform. Get a little wider view of the layout. Well, that'll do it for today, folks. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and share this video with anyone else you know who may be interested. As always, thanks for watching.